Okay, today for our cartoon drawing on Photoshop, we are first going to go on to the internet and find a cartoon drawing that you'd like to duplicate. I recommend something a little more simple, just a little easier to work with. When you are downloading these images, you need to make sure that they are actually JPEGs or PNGs or GIFs. Here I have one that I'm going to right click and do open image in new tab. All right, so if I go here, go open image in new tab, it's going to give me a new tab, and I can see this is a PNG. But when I right click on it and do save image as, it continuously is trying to save it as a WEP file, and that will not allow me to work on that in Photoshop. So I have two choices. I can either go and find another image that will allow me to do this, or because this happens to be on Pixabay, I can actually visit Pixabay and download it for free as a licensable image. So I've already saved this one. I did that through Pixabay. Then I'm going to go ahead and open up my Photoshop. And I downloaded that image onto my photos file. So I'm going to go ahead and click open and go find where I saved that. And again, I saved that inside pictures. And right here is my sloth. All right, so I've got my sloth here, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this sloth, this layer, down into the bottom left-hand corner so I can use that as sort of a reference. If I go to image, image size, or sorry, go to image, edit, transform, scale. All right, so edit, transform, scale. That's going to allow me to take just this layer and scale it down. If I grab it in the corner, I can kind of shrimp them down here, use that as sort of my reference point. Now my layers are not showing over here on the right side, so if I need to go to Window and check mark layers, then I can make sure I have my layers showing. Right now that is layer 1. I'm going to go ahead and add another layer, and I do that by clicking the little button down here in the bottom right hand corner of my layers menu, and that puts me into layer 2. And I'm going to go ahead and add some text to this layer. So I'm going to click on the text tool over here on the left side. I'm just going to do horizontal. Click there, and I'm going to go ahead and type in my name and maybe adjust some of the font size. Make that a little bit bigger, choose a different font. And then I'm going to change the color. Go ahead and make that one bright red. And then use my move tool to just kind of push that up into the corner. All right, now I'm going to continue using my layer tool. So I'm going to add another layer here and use my various tools that I've learned so far, specifically my brush tool right here, and how to adjust my brush tool. Remember, I can change all my brush settings here. I can change the size, I can change the hardness, and then I actually have a whole bunch of different brushes I can choose from. And some of these, especially if you're a little bit more artistic, will be useful in trying to recreate your cartoon. Now, if you're very artistic, you may be able to free draw these over here. Remember, I can use my bracket tools. And let's see if I want to pick up this color. So I click on my color tool here, use my eyedropper, grab that color right there, click OK, and I can start drawing this. Now again, if you're very artistic, you might be able to freehand this into something that is along the lines of this same character. Now, I am not artistic, so I'm going to take an alternative approach here. Instead of drawing this freehand, because I have very little artistic ability, I'm going to instead trace it. So I'm going to go back to my layer 1, which is my sloth. I'll go ahead and move him right here, and I'm going to make him large again. So again, that is edit, transform, scale. I'm going to go ahead and make him back to his original size, or the size I want to use. All right, I'm going to use that as a tracing. So I'm going to insert a new layer here. This is layer 2 over here on the right side. And I'm going to use this as sort of a template of what it is I want to draw. So I'm going to start off with my paintbrush tool here. I'm going to use a very small paintbrush. Let's start off with my outline. And I'm going to just outline the whole thing here. And then as I go, and I'm going to do this quick just because this is a demo here. Let's see. Got a pretty decent start here. And I'm going to try and end the same place I started. And now what I can use is my layer visibility tools here. If I turn off layer 1, and it makes that invisible. I can also adjust my opacity of my layer 1. If I click on layer 1, that's sort of my original here. And I'm going to turn the opacity way down, maybe to something like that. So it makes it sort of translucent. Makes it a little easier for me to see when I've drawn on top of it and what maybe I want to trace on top of it. And I can do the same thing for all of my other layers. In fact, I might even take layer 1 here and drag it on top. And now it's covering up everything. So I can turn it on and off, maybe use my bucket tool, keeping track of my different layers. I'm on layer 2 now, which is where I drew the body outline. Use my bucket. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. Oop, look, I filled that in and did a pretty decent job. Missed a little spot there, got there, got there. All right. Turn that on and off. All right, perfect. Then I'm going to continue to go through here and draw my different areas. The overall goal of this is to really get familiar with how to manipulate your different layers over here, how to change the order of them, change the opacity level of them to allow you to kind of see these and use these as almost like a tracing paper. I encourage you to use your brushes over here and to take a look at some of your different brush textures and brush sizes here to see what works for you coming through this. You can also adjust your brush settings up here where you can change your flow or your opacity to gain an effect that you might want, as well as the hardness level that gives you sort of a soft edge on these. So if I wanted to do a little softer edge on some of these other settings, I could do that, as well as clicking on my color tools here. Use this eyedropper. Maybe I want to get an eyedrop color there. And then use this as sort of a little painting tool to see what I can come up with. I also encourage you to keep adding additional layers for each one of your steps. That way, if you mess something up, you can just turn that layer off and start over. It's just like when we were doing our hamburger project, you can turn off the different layers, move them around as need be. And again, that's using the layer tool over here. And if you mess it up, just use the garbage can down here in the bottom right-hand corner and delete it. Have fun with this. And when you're completely done, you're going to export this as a PNG. Make sure you first save it. And then secondly, do an export, quick export as PNG, and that'll give you a graphic of your new cartoon. Have fun.